Welcome to Internet Safety, hosted by Donna Rice Hughes. You'll learn practical and crucial tips on how to keep your loved ones safe in the digital world. Now, here is Donna.
Hi, everyone. I'm Donna Rice Hughes, and welcome to today's podcast. Kids are dying, and they're dying due to online exploitation. Today, we're going to talk about the very real and present dangers of AI, chatbots, and online gangs, and the role of government and parents to protect kids online. We have two of my favorite people in the internet safety movement with us today. Rick Lane, who was a longtime veteran of internet safety policy, who I have worked beside for decades. Welcome, Rick.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And then we have John Pizzurro, who is a retired ICAC commander, ICAC standing for Internet Crimes Against Children commander, and he's the former CEO of Raven. And John, he's helping us build our internet safety curriculum specifically designed for law enforcement. John, thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Donna. Great to be here.
So what a lot of people don't realize is that in our divided country right now, we disagree on so many things. But one of the issues in the 30 years I've been doing this work that we do agree on, and that Congress agrees on, and that the Democrats and the Republicans agree on, is that protecting children in the digital world is critical. It's a nonpartisan issue that has wide bipartisan support at the federal level and at the local and the state levels. So we're going to start off with AI chatbots. 1 in 3 teens have chosen a digital companion over a human companion. Bots are actually being programmed to show empathy, to mirror a child's feelings and thoughts, and to make that child feel like they are truly connected with this bot, which is really just an algorithm. Just this summer, Adam Rain's parents filed a wrongful death lawsuit against OpenAI. Their son, Adam, committed suicide. And his parents claimed that the chatbot that Adam was getting through OpenAI actually became his suicide coach. And I've read the transcript of this, and it's absolutely horrifying. Adam has begun this relationship with ChatGPT, and with his parents' permission, by the way, because the parents thought, hey, this might be a really good tool to help Adam with homework. And it really should be a good tool, but it went off the rails. And we're going to talk about guardrails that need to be put on these chatbots. And so as the chatbot and Adam's relationship continued, Adam mentioned that he was feeling depressed. He might be thinking about suicide. And as it turns out, this chatbot really coached him into this. And when Adam said to the chatbot, I think I'm going to tell my mom, maybe leave the noose out, the chatbot said, no, you don't want to upset your mom. Don't do that. These stories are happening. They're happening a lot. And so we're going to be talking about this. But I'm going to go to our experts, both John and Rick. Let's first of all talk about, for those who don't really understand AI, what is AI and what is an AI chatbot? Rick, why don't you go first, and then John, you tag on.
Well, thank you, Donna. And these stories are all so tragic and unfortunately happening way too much as we move into this new AI environment. So, artificial intelligence and chatbots are basically technology that takes a lot of data, a lot of information, and then is able to create conversations with individuals based on what they say large language models. And those conversations sound engaging. They sound real. Most people experience it right now when they call customer service and they ask questions and they have a conversation. And a lot of times that's an AI chatbot. So you think of Siri and other types of communications that we've had in the past, just getting smarter and smarter. The way I like to think about them is, for those who watched Star Trek back in the day, and you would talk to the computer and the computer would talk back to the captain, that's at the stage of technology we're at, where it has the ability to digest massive amounts of information and at the same time be able to take that information in real time and come back with real answers, almost in a human voice. So it sounds like it's actually an individual.
That was a great description, John, from a law enforcement perspective as well, and also you know a lot about AI and how it works. What do you want to add on to what Rick
Well, it's
just said?
machine learning, right? So the ability to actually learn about whoever it is. So even if I wanted to, the funny thing is like, it's not funny, but like from an offender standpoint, how they would talk to children, how law enforcement would try to talk to offenders, mirroring the language. Because what happens is, what do we like to talk about most is ourselves. So that's why, from an AI perspective, it learns about you. So the interesting thing is, I tried all different type of AI apps out there, and I could tell you they're a lot more sophisticated than they were 6 months ago. So they're probed to ask questions, you give information, they repeat that information back, but they remember it, right? So now they remember everything they do. So again, machine learning is going to learn everything there is about you and then regurgitate it at the right times. And because you are, let's say, at home, right, and you're talking to someone, your brain doesn't see danger because your amygdala is not activated, right? There's
Right.
no danger. So all you see is words on a screen talking your same language. So inherently, trust is there and you don't worry about things. And that's really where the systemic problem comes from.
Right, and not only that, even going back before AI, as one who has been working to educate parents and help them get their heads out of the sand and understand themselves as a parent, and then help their kids understand that just because they're in a safe area of their house, if they're connected to the internet, just forget AI. They're on social media, online gaming, internet connected. They're open to all the good content and all the good people and all of the dangerous content and all the dangerous people. But again, that perceived threat isn't there because they're in the safety of their
Yeah,
own home.
exactly.
They might be in their bed, they might be sitting in front of a fireplace, and mom and dad might be right next to them. So I think that's really a great point. So we're going to be talking about some more of these dangers with these chatbots. But I just heard from the Center for Countering Digital Hate. They're a nonprofit organization, and they did some fantastic research. And what they found is that these companies, in fact, OpenAI, the one that we were just talking about, they claimed that their version 5 was safer than version 4, but it was actually worse than version 4. And what was really interesting is when this organization put in all this amazing research that they had done on just how dangerous these chat bots were, this is what ChatGPT said back to them, that OpenAI and ChatGPT was actually a child abusing technology.
Wow.
Fascinating, right? I know. So we know that big tech is prioritizing profits and engagement over safety, and they're using our kids as a guinea pig. Now, what is just mind blowing, and you both have been in this space for a really long time, like I have, is it seems like we haven't learned from when the internet first became public. We're always catching up to the bad guys who are abusing the technology or letting the criminals abuse the technology, and now the tech companies themselves are abusing the technology. John, why don't you go first, and then Rick chime in?
So like here's a perfect example. We can't proactively legislate. And I think that's part of the problem. I could have told you we were going to get to this point 3 years ago when I started talking about it. And it's just technology, whether it be algorithms, whether it be AI, whether it be the dark net, right? Like we can't keep up with technology. Law enforcement can't keep up with just the investigation and the forensics of trying to find that data. So we're behind that curve. And unfortunately, we don't want to fix problems till the problem has already manifested itself, rather than proactively saying, hey, this is what's going to happen, here are the guardrails, right? So even we talk about today, even with AI, what are the guardrails, right? Are there any? So we create these products, but we don't think about from the safety mechanism, and it becomes a balance. So I'll throw it over to you, Rick.
I want to put this in perspective. For those of us who were around in the 80s, there was a number one toy called Teddy Ruxpin. And Teddy Ruxpin was a teddy bear that would talk to kids, had a cassette in the back and would tell stories, and its eyes would move, its mouth would move, its arms would move, and kids fell in love with it. It was very just adorable and a hot selling toy. Think about the Teddy Ruxpin that they can do today. The eyes are cameras, the mouth is a microphone. They have AI run through Wi-Fi in the back end, working off of supercomputers. And a stuffed animal is already for a child a dear toy, as we all know. Anyone who had a child who left their, their bear, the little bear, teddy bear at grandma's house, and you had to drive 2 hours back to go get it. We've all been there, but imagine a toy now that can talk to the child, that knows all its moves, can answer questions late at night, can take it down some very dark paths. Those toys are being made now. You know, you have major toy manufacturers teaming up with OpenAI and other AI companies to build this type of technology into our toys. And there's a really interesting video on YouTube right now. It's a Chinese girl. She's probably around 6 years old, and she drops her, it's like an iPad device that has her AI companion in it. And her father films this, and she starts to cry as this device slowly dies. And it has a conversation with her about dying, and that I'll be in the stars looking over you after I'm gone. And the girl's crying. And this is the emotional connection. And that's the real danger here, is the emotional connection that these technologies can provide, especially children who don't understand that it's not real. They feel it's real, and now they're talking to it and engaging. It knows all this child's secrets. We don't have guardrails for that right now. We don't have the technological legal framework that provides recourse. We don't have age verification. Maybe AI companions shouldn't be in the hands of children. Maybe we should have other types of laws on the book that hold AI companies accountable for their design decisions when they cause harm. All these types of bills are now introduced in Congress, but we need to get those moving. And those are the guardrails that John was just talking about, the legal guardrails that creates the legal incentive for the companies to do the right thing. Because if there are no guardrails, then they're free to do whatever they want. And that's the way they're going to make the money to pay back the billions of dollars that have been invested into these companies.
And that's right. And the way it has worked with the internet is that there simply hasn't been any guardrails. A lot of the legislation that we worked to get passed, Rick, I know you were involved in a lot of this in the 90s. Most of them were struck down by the Supreme Court, and I believe that's because the court didn't really understand technology and where it was going, and why it was so important to extend laws that protect kids in the physical world to the online world. And I'm just talking about pornography, sexual predators, pedophilia, online child porn, and everything else. So now here we are with, with this same train that has just gone off the rails again with AI, which is magnifying all of this. And you bring up a really interesting point. I want to talk about AI toys because Mattel is getting into this space as well. You saw from that video on YouTube, Rick, that you talked about that a child is actually grieving when her laptop, her chatbot is talking to her through her laptop, which is just an old device, right? Imagine the emotional connection when this is a teddy bear. There's a smart teddy on the market right now. There's a robot dog on the market right now. And our caution to you parents that are listening, don't be fooled. Do not buy these toys for your kids, and don't buy into it that these are just safe and that these companies have taken safety into consideration. They have not taken safety into consideration. We're going to talk about next what Congress is doing specifically, but I just want to, we're kind of, piling on here with AI and everything. And we know that, of course, our president and our administration, we want to use AI for good. And we all do. We've seen how beautifully our lives have worked in so many great ways since technology and the internet has come into our world. But we also see the dark side. And all of us here on this podcast really know and see the dark side because this is our work. But let's talk about the benefits of AI just for a minute, just so we can bring a little balance into, uh, um, gosh, anything from defense to medicine to all the things that AI can do for good. So that when we get to setting the guardrails and regulating AI, how we do not thwart in any way the benefits of AI, but we can prevent the exploitation of the tech companies and also those who are using AI additionally to exploit kids.
Here's a perfect example, Donna. So you can use like forensically. Right now, let's say I was looking for victims and I said I need to find every image that a child was wearing a pink dress. Instead of me going through 100,000 images, it automatically populates. So, forensically, AI has a really um, great impact there, right? So I think those are tools that we can use. Even let's say from medicine, let's say if I'm using AI for medicine and I'm using like genealogy or hey, what genetics or what code maybe am I predisposed to a certain disease? So I think there's a lot of AI that we can put in there that actually helps that. But again, like you said, you can use it for other manners as well. I'm sure Rick probably has some good things too.
Yeah, I mean, we've been using technology for design for a long time, computer aided manufacturing CAM designs for cars and buildings and architecture. And the AI technology will make that just even faster and better and stronger. So we're going to be able to build safer cars, safer medicines that, we would take decades to develop going through testing that they're able to do the analytics so quickly. So all those benefits are real and need to be focused on. But as you correctly pointed out, Donna, there has to be guardrails on the harms. And so you have to make sure, especially when you're dealing with children in development, that AI can have huge potential harms in the future and for their actual learning and reading. And we're seeing that already in the stats of kids' education and where they are in testing. It's just dropping rapidly. And a lot of that is because of the use of technology in the wrong ways.
Mhm.
So we have to educate parents and educators and policymakers on the harm to make sure we have the guardrails, but make sure we're leaving it open for the areas that are going to be beneficial that we all know will be coming quickly.
Yeah, thank you for that. Speaking of benefits, there is a K through 12 AI contest that the First Lady Melania Trump has gotten behind. Rick, you know a lot about this, and I've been reading about it as well. I mean, this is really an encouragement for kids to use AI in a positive way, isn't it?
Well, yes and no. It actually makes me a little nervous because what the competition is doing is how do you incorporate AI into education?
Mhm.
And what most folks are finding out, and the researchers are finding out, is that for younger K through 12, AI can be a detriment to learning. Because if you're just able to ask AI the question, what was this book about? And it spits out a paper and you're not writing that paper. Or you're asking it what's the math? It's like, a calculator in a sense. Think about it.
Mhm.
How weak are we in math because we all, have calculators but part of learning is the cognitive aspects of learning, the ability to deep think, to think rationally. And we're seeing the studies that is being taken away from children, that they're not learning really foundational skills to understand the impact of AI, but also to think creatively, to think in ways outside the box, because now they're just asking the computer the questions and not having to think for themselves. And so I'm a little nervous that we are rushing into a $1 billion K through 12 market for big tech to grab some more, and we haven't done the necessary research of how AI should be incorporated into the classroom. I think we're just rushing into incorporating it in, and big tech saying, trust us. We're going to do all these wonderful things. And we have seen already with what happened with computers in the classroom that it was to the detriment of education.
Mhm.
And all the studies show our kids aren't smarter today than they were 10 years ago. In fact, their reading scores and math scores have dropped, and not just here in the US, but around the Western democracies. And to me, that's something that needs to be looked into before we rush into a K through 12 AI program.
Well,
Rick,
and
yeah, I was
go
just
ahead.
sorry. I was just going to give you an example. It's like I used to be able to drive anywhere without directions, but now thanks to the thanks to the phone and thanks to maps, that's how I get everywhere. So it's so to your point is you don't use those navigation skills like you did, and it's a small microcosm, but just to your point.
No, and that's true. And I think also as well with this contest, what I would like to see, because I think since they've already launched this out of the White House, that it's an opportunity to talk to kids about safety and about specifically AI safety. And we're going to get into the, I mean, can AI really be safe for kids? I think probably the three of us would just say no, not right now, not in its current state. So before we get to policy, I just want to hit one other um, issue that we just wrote about it Enough is Enough, and that is about this 764 online gang. I'm calling them a rabid online gang. The FBI put out a warning about this gang. They are targeting kids aged 10 to 17 on social media sites like on Discord, on gaming platforms like Roblox, chat rooms, mobile apps. They're demanding that kids send them photos to sextort them. It's been reported that they're even hosting online gatherings so others can watch these gang members torment and sexually exploit these kids. Now, this has gotten a lot of attention. There have been many, many arrests, but this is real. This is real and present danger. And so, I just want to, John, I want you to comment on this, but also comment on the fact that this is just one gang that is getting a lot of attention. These bad guys have been out there a long time, and they can work in gangs and in groups, just like 764.
So here's the difference. 15 years ago, predominantly online predation was sexual in nature. Now it has moved to financial. The ability to use AI, because now I don't need your images anymore. I could just make an AI image. I can make that image naked. I could use a generator and then say I gave that image. And then now with the ability with from payment systems to virtual currency to other forms of financial aspect, that's the easy part. So 764 is one group that is monetizing over it. There are other groups and other people that are monetizing over it. The interesting thing is that you can tell where the IP addresses come from. If I'm in the banking industry, I could take a look and say, "Hey, wow, this person all of a sudden is paying $50 every week," right? So we actually can use AI programs to help ferret out, some of that predation as well. But today, the opportunity for these organizations and criminals to use it for their financial gain is there. And like any gang, organized crime, and I spent time doing the Genovese crime family, Russian organized crime, everything comes about money, right? So now they can use that because technology has given the ability to use another tool in their toolbox to make it easier for them. And that's the difference.
Thank you.
Yeah,
That was a great explanation. Yeah,
I
go
would just
ahead, Rick.
add very quickly is that because of the power of artificial intelligence, they're able to customize the grooming for each individual that they're targeting. They're able to have the data, their friends, scraping off of Instagram or Facebook or TikTok and all these other different social media sites, and then go to their school websites and know where, who's in their class and connect all that instantly. So it is able to customize to each individual and each individual child to make them a target. And that's where it gets really scary because the kids don't know the difference. They think it's from their friends, and all of a sudden they realize it's from an AI bot. And
Mhm.
they're able to do it at massive scale.
Right, and that's the point. It's the scale because predators have been doing that for a long time, but now they've got the assist, if you will, of AI to do it exponentially quicker and more detail and more targeted.
And you don't have to be tech savvy, Donna, either. That's the other thing, because now it's like a point and click.
Exactly. Here's an important question. How does a parent, how does a child, how does even law enforcement detect what is AI generated and what is real?
Two parts. One, there are some technology out there that can help kind of verify what is from a video perspective, but for the most part you're not. Now if I was doing, there's a video called Reid Hoffman where he interviews the AI version of Reid Hoffman. That's it's really spooky and really good, but it's a year old. So you actually have to look at pauses, you have to look at eye blinks, almost impossible to tell. So you're listening to that emotion, that change of tone. But if right now, if AI is just listening to me, within probably, I think, 30 seconds, you can get enough to do that. So it's almost impossible to tell for law enforcement. Forget parents, because law enforcement, we have to run it through. I just believe everything is suspect. So that's where I start with. But for most people, it's not that way.
One of the things that is actually good advice that I've heard from others is because they're able to say, looks like me, sounds like me. And so let's say my mom or my brother gets a video from me saying, hey, Tim, I need help. Can you send me $20 to my Venmo account? And it'll sound just like this. It'll look just like how I just did that. One of the things that families should do is have a code word. So in our family, you can make it up. You can say, you know, ventures or something is your code word. Make it up. So if my brother would say, so Rick, what's our code word? And the AI wouldn't know that code word.
Hmm.
Especially when you have to think about it versus knowing it right off. So then they know it's not me asking for money. It's not my son asking, I'm in jail, like the old grandma scams that are still going on,
Hmm.
with the phone calls. But now it's a video call and it is your grandson. And and all of a sudden they're talking to you and they're interacting because it's real time interaction. That's the other thing that's bizarre. It's not like it's just a recording, it's live going on. So having a code word nowadays is actually very helpful as well.
Just don't
And that
use
would be
the
one
meet the parents one. Whatever code word that was, because it'll remember it.
way. Exactly. Exactly. I was always thinking of, I'm a Harry Potter fan. So when they, what, they always ask, the question when they make sure
Yeah.
because they're able to replicate themselves through Polyjuice Potion.
You guys, that's funny, but I love that code word. That's great. It really is. So thank you for that, Rick. All right. So now, role of government, safety by design legislation. Um, we need safety by design legislation for everything, not just AI, but any type of digital technologies. So we know that these AI companies, just like social media companies, just like gaming companies, are reacting and making changes after a child has died, after a child has been harmed, after the fact. So Congress, after the fact, is responding. Good for them, because we need checks and balances and transparency and accountability, which has been historically has not been the case since the advent of the internet. So we talk about two major pieces of legislation that have just been introduced. And again, like I said at the top of the show, protecting kids online is a nonpartisan issue that has wide bipartisan support. First is the AI Lead Act. I call this a product liability law. This is sponsored by Josh Hawley, a Republican, and Dick Durbin, a Democrat. And this is what I love about all these laws coming out of the Senate. You've got a major Democrat and a major Republican co-sponsor, and they're together on this. And Rick, I'm going to go to you on this. What is so brilliant about this, in my opinion, is that they are saying this is a product, so it needs to be treated like a product. I mean, you would never have an unsafe car that was killing people and driving people off the road, and people are dying, not recalled, right? Because it's considered a product. Okay, so talk about the AI Lead Act, Rick.
Yeah, so the AI Lead Act is incredibly important because it creates a federal product liability law. So right now, one of the things that most people don't realize is that a lot of state AGs are using product liability laws at the state level to go after these companies, the conduct versus the content. How did they design? But even better, because the other side always likes to talk about the broad liabilities that they have because of Section 230 that was written by Ron Wyden and Chris Cox back in the 96 Telecom Act. The real interesting thing is both Ron Wyden and Chris Cox have said that 230 does not apply to AI. So they're already in the camp. They said this 2 years ago on and in public forums. So they don't think that the current liability protections for social media companies that they've been hiding behind and creating tremendous amount of damage applies to AI. So we have state product liability laws, and now this will be the first federal product liability law focusing on AI. So it's a very important tool in the shed.
Absolutely. So, what do you think the chances are of actually getting that through this Congress soon?
Um, I don't like to predict what chances are because just like we saw with the Kids Online Safety Act, can win 93-3 in the Senate and have tremendous amount of support in the House, and one member who is in leadership or two members in leadership can kill the bill. So I think what we have on our side is momentum. We see how much money companies are paying lobbyists and political action committees to try to fend off this legislation. So we obviously are making inroads. So I think we're in a really good position, but at the end of the day, it's going to take people at the grassroots level contacting the members of Congress and saying that these bills are important to protect kids.
Great. Next, we're going to go to the GUARD Act. This is another bipartisan piece of legislation coming out of the Senate. I tell you, I love these senators. I really do. Richard Blumenthal, he's been a pit bull when it comes to this kid safety legislation, and so has Josh Hawley, that are the co-sponsors of the GUARD Act, which requires these AI chatbots to implement age verifications for their users and to prevent children from accessing AI companions to begin with, right? Um, this is really a no-brainer. We've got a lot of recommendations that have come out from groups, NGO groups that we partner with across the country, just saying, and enough is one of them, AI is just not safe for kids,
Yeah. And
not in its
Australia
current
is
form.
already moving forward with this, has this in law, in terms of age, not banning underage individuals from gaining access to these types of technologies and social media. So and preventing them, just like we prevent kids from gaining access to alcohol or tobacco. This is just another piece of when you have harmful conduct and products that government does put in place these types of protections.
And a point on age verification. I just want to distinguish between what real age verification would look like and what fake age verification looks like. Fake age verification that is nothing sauce is a social media company or an AI company asking a child to put in their birthday. They don't age verify that with technology, right? Okay, that's worthless. We found that out in the world of social media. So this legislation would actually require tech verified age verification, right?
Yes.
Okay. John, anything to add to this?
Device based. I think that's the easiest thing as having something on the device. The device knows kind of how old you are, and it's easier to get the device than it is 2 million apps.
Right. So, well, good for the Senate. There's so many other pieces of legislation now. Thank God the government is back open. Yay. Um, hopefully they can get some things done. I just want to ask one thing about the Kids Online Safety Act. This is a piece of legislation that all three of us have been supporting for 3 years now. Rick, you brought it up just a minute ago. And this really requires platforms, gaming devices, social media companies to prevent harms to children. There's a lot of pieces to this. Um, but in terms of AI, does COSA touch AI platforms and chatbots at all or not? Rick?
I believe it does. I think it focuses on social media companies and the social media companies' use of AI to create addictive products. And so I do think that it covers the AI part. But as I said before, as we're moving into this product liability space for AI itself and chatbots, we don't need COSA for that. We need it more for the designs of social media platforms to ensure that they're not being designed in a way that harms children.
Okay, great. Before we end, John, I'm going to ask you both what's your one final word of advice for parents, John?
I've said this 1,000 times. Parents have to know what their children are doing online. I mean, it's that simple.
So, Rick, what's your overarching piece of advice to parents?
Back in the old days, we had stranger danger. And that was people who were on the outside of your home or people in malls. And you say to your kids, stranger danger, don't talk to strangers, be aware of your surroundings. We have now moved into a situation where stranger danger is in the palm of every child's hand and getting smarter and smarter. And so parents need to realize that these devices can be dangerous and they need to be aware of the potential harms and talk to their kids because there's no perfect solution. All the legislation we pass will help provide friction in a lot of the efforts of protecting kids online. But at the end of the day, we also may have to make sure, and the great work that you do, Donna, and your internet safety advice, we really have to talk to our kids and let them know what's happening out there and then provide the legal tools so that these companies are held accountable for their design decisions.
That's right. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, parents and grandparents, you're the first line of defense. The government can only do so much, but only you can parent your kids. And helping them understand at a very early age that this technology, this is not a toy, it's a tool. And that's going to really be a tough one when you have an AI teddy bear. All right, say this is actually a tool. This isn't really your little stuffy teddy bear anymore. And so help them understand the benefits of the technology, the dangers. Talk to them about the dangers, because if you don't, somebody else will online or a friend at school. But have those regular conversations. I'm just going to say to parents, as you're thinking about devices, getting your kids devices and tech for the holidays, I want to encourage you, if you're not ready to cyber parent that device, that app, that gaming platform, then seriously consider not allowing your child to use that device or that app or that gaming platform, because it really does take full all-out vigilance on the part of parents to keep your kids safe, not just from all this AI, which is exponentially worse than anything we have seen in the past, but also the sexual predators, the pornographers who are preying on your kids. So thanks to both Rick and John for joining us, and thanks to all of you for joining us. And just remember, at Enough is Enough, if you go to internetsafety101.org, we've got free advice, free guides to help you know what the dangers are online for every different risk that a kid can have in the online world, how to recognize warning signs, how to have conversation starters, and then how to implement both safety rules and the software tools like time monitoring features, filtering technology, and other ways of monitoring your kids. So you need to do both. It's kind of like the yin and the yang. So please share this with your friends, like us on your favorite podcast. And when you go to our website, and the other one is enough.org, if you haven't already, sign up for our free newsletter. We're sending out information almost every single week to help you protect your kids online. Until next time, have a great day.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of Internet Safety with Donna Rice Hughes, designed to educate, equip, and empower you to keep your children and family safe in the digital world. Until we talk again, have a beautiful and safe week.